No, you could just go be candid about shit. It's
Oh
all
yeah,
good.
yeah. No. I was waiting for the countdown.
All
It's been cool to
right.
see the growth, bro. It's been cool meeting at the show and then seeing you step into this space. I've been following the whole way, and like the route you've taken and the things you're chatting through, like I vibe with all of it. I vibe with
I
all of it. So I
appreciate
want to
that.
say like congrats on what you've done, and I commend the consistency of it all.
Thank you. Wow, we're gonna start this episode off with some flattery, man. Oh my god, I'm at your disposal now. Geez, that's all I need is a couple wishful sweet nothings. I'm like all yours, man. So no, I appreciate it. So what's going on, guys? And welcome. We have Jacob. I can't say your last name. Beneventi.
Beneventi.
Beneventi. Is that Italian?
Beneventi. Gabagool.
Oh, okay. So it is. All right.
Italian.
And for the audience here that doesn't know, me and Jacob actually met at my very first show, my very first OCB Natural Physique Competition show. And Jacob over here actually won I guess you would call it the Open, where you earned your pro card.
Yeah.
Right. And then now you are currently about to get up on stage again, except as a pro, right? Is this your first show as a pro?
Correct.
Or how's it?
Correct.
Yes. And where's that at again?
It's in Charlotte. So
Charlotte.
Yeah. So this will be first pro show. It's also the OCB's top pro show, and they claim like one of the nationwide top pro shows. So my thought is this: I'm like, damn, I kind of squeaked by, just barely became pro, and because I did in a certain time frame, within the year time frame, it allowed me to qualify for their top show. So I was like, okay, let's see what the gap, like let me bust ass for a year and let me see what the gap is between me and the guys who are doing it at the highest level, to just see where things land, and see which work I have to do. So we'll see, man. We'll see how it goes.
All right. Well, now that you're at this level, right, let's actually take it further back, because I feel like one of the more challenging things that go in today's health, especially when it comes to like working out and eating right, is creating that regimen and actually making that as a part of your identity.
Yeah.
Now, for you, with regards to working out, what got you into working out, and then what for you has driven you to make this into an entire lifestyle to the point where now you're competing against other professionals?
Yeah, good question, man. It still feels funky, that whole idea of like, I never wanted to compete per se. Fitness was just a part of my life and always has been. I'll take you way back and we'll kind of breeze through it real quick. As a kid, I was extremely hyperactive. My outlet had always been getting into trouble, playing sports, being physically expressive, bro, sometimes to my detriment. And so I never really jived in school. Like, always got through, but it was easy for me. I never had to really like pay too close attention. But sitting still and being in a classroom was not. And so I get to the end of sports, I get to the end of high school, and I'm like, what have been the elements of my life that have been consistent? And when I looked back at it, it's always been that training component. And so I'm always kind of, I think that I have I'm always pursuing meaning, right? Like, at least I want to. Like, I want what I'm doing to have some purpose to it, to have some meaning. And with that, I was like, what if I could use something that I'm inclined to, that I like, to help other people? Right? So when I went to school, I was like, okay, I'm not going to go to the MBA. Let's go to school. Studied exercise science. Became a trainer when I was 19. Started training people for free on campus, doing boot camps, living the life myself. Again, it's always been a staple. And it's given me a metric for, like, we all know life can have its challenges to it, man. And so fitness has been that constant that I could gauge progress for. Tony Robbins has this great quote: progress is happiness. So fitness has always been like my happy place with it. Fast forward, graduate school, still training people, trying to build my business. We can get more into that later. But about a little over a year ago, I was like, let me try and do a show. Let me push my body, push my awareness of nutrition, and just push myself from like a relatively lean, relatively athletic person to inspire my clients and inspire the people I work with that, I'm not going to go from like over 100 pounds overweight to then like being fit, but I can go from being fit to, I guess, show ready, which what that takes. It's brutal.
That is
the pace to it that led me to competing.
Right. Yeah. You know what I find interesting about competing is the different journeys that all end up at the same stage. You know, for example, when we met at OCB Tucson, there you are trying to earn your pro card. And for me, that was just like, holy shit, I'm actually getting up on stage, especially dealing with a lot of, body dysmorphia, body issues and things like that. It's really interesting. And what I appreciated most about competing is to hear everybody's different story, but still getting up on stage, you know?
Mm.
So at that same rate for you, where you won first place, you won your pro card, and you're about to compete professionally, in that victory of yours was probably the same magnitude for me, and if not more, even just placing fifth in the amateur aspect
Yeah,
of it,
that's
not
awesome.
even getting a pro card, just because getting up on stage is its own journey.
Mm.
Now, for you, and what I feel like so many people would benefit if they actually decided to take the route of getting ready to compete, putting your body through limits, just like what you were saying, because I feel like the notion of getting up on stage and competing is such a significant accolade that
Mm.
when people actually apply themselves to an accolade that they otherwise would not think is possible, just the pursuit of something that's a higher version of yourself that you
Mm.
never thought was possible is just so beneficial.
That's good.
Now, for you, how do you perceive, I guess, when it comes to the totality of training, right? Because
Yeah.
like you were saying, you want to do things with intention. You have this higher aspect of it. And now you are in this, like I said, you're about to train professionally. You're about to compete against some, there's some fucking beasts in the professional circuit for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for you now in this process, what has that been for you? What is that real intention for you beyond just getting to another plateau, so to speak?
Yeah, man. That's such a good question, bro. I'm gonna try to answer as honest as I can. Like that, you mentioned the body dysmorphia thing. I'll go into that too. So the show that we met at the Polygraph. I remember we were posted up. I appreciated your.
Oh, yeah.
Again, I'm new to it. My first show was a month or 3 weeks prior. My first show, and I did the Alpha Elite Summer Shredding Classic. Reason I did that show is because I'd always seen the transformation class. These people who went from 300 pounds to now they're like 180. They got their stretch marks. They're up there like showing pride in their journey. Bro, like it brought tears to my eyes watching those videos. So I said, if I'm going to compete, which I always thought was goofy, I always thought those were like, I wasn't really in that realm of, you know, either if I didn't have the physique for it or also just the mentality. I didn't like a lot of the mentality around it. It seemed too like obsessive, right? Which I was like, that's not sustainable. And
Are you talking about the mentality around like competing and things like that? Or what do you mean by the
people I
mentality?
had been exposed to in terms of competing were people who seemed to, man, it's no knock, but like there seemed to be an obsession about it that I just didn't really jive with. Like it didn't feel good. It felt too like, look at me.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
And as a trainer, like I've had to go through that journey of transitioning from my fitness isn't about me anymore. It's about inspire. It is for me, right? But it's also about encouraging others to get fit, encouraging others to take on great tasks, encouraging others to be disciplined. So all those things. So back to the competing thing. A couple weeks before we met, I did the Summer Shredding Classic. I went, but I was like, bro, they don't test here. I don't take anything. So I wonder how I would do in an actual show. I was like, oh, there's one down in Tucson. Let me pull up. So I did that. I've never really like thought I had a good physique. So to win that show, it opened up my eyes. I was like, this is cool. Like I've never really been the most secure in my body. I've always been very hypercritical of self and my potential growth. And I just got my pro card in physique. It doesn't make sense. You see what I'm saying? Like it doesn't.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, like, what do I do now? And what's cool is like, and I had a couple clients compete recently. When I told them is this, the competition stage is not about the stage. Like the day of, you might be it might be nerve wracking before it's your first show. Like it's going to be embrace all of that. You're going to feel the most pride on that day. Here's why. You just put yourself through what very few people would put themselves through. You still got relationships. You got a family. like you got business, you got X, Y, and Z, you got stress, you got trying to make there's all of these things, and you made yourself suffer for the last 3 months for a greater purpose of having that one moment where you can be proud and just strut your stuff. And it's a powerful thing. And it's so encouraging to the people around you. I always say, like, your transformation's bigger than you. People get to look at that and say, Alan got his shit together. I can get my shit together.
Right.
So the way I perceive it now is that same thing as fitness has always been, is like these shows are now my progress metrics. Win, lose, get last place, which is a strong possibility this next show. Who knows?
Oh, stop. No. You can't do that shit now.
But no, it's not for the placing. It's for the feedback that you get to how to improve. Because if we're still in life, then we should still continue to improve.
Yeah. You highlight something that I feel like we need to embrace more, which is embracing the journey that comes with fitness. Instead of just like being at a plateau. Like you're saying, it's not about getting up on stage for that particular competition or getting up on stage for that particular moment, but rather being able to track your progress from like where you started to where you are now to where you're progressing. And another thing I really want to highlight for you, like kind of what we were alluding to earlier, which is you're saying you got up on stage and you won a physique competition. You didn't think it was fucking possible. Now, that's news to me, Jacob, because when I met you, I'm like, oh, this motherfucker. Like, God damn it, this guy. Wow. You know, because I remember right before you got up on stage, we're getting sprayed with Crisco or whatever by one of the girls in the back.
Bro, that was so, oh my God. The goofiness of competing, bro. So goofy. I'm like,
so funny.
Everyone's doing it. Sign me down.
Everyone's doing it. Oh my God. That is hilarious. But you know what's interesting too? It's just like what you're saying, because I would never have gotten that from you, that you had like body issues, that you might have been insecure or whatnot. But I feel like that's the general rhetoric when it comes to men that have nice physiques. Like the general rhetoric around it is like, well, why are you insecure? You got abs, or why are you insecure? And it's a very harsh, like, I don't want to say reality, but it's a very harsh critique, you know? And so for you, in your opinion, do you feel like there is a huge pressure for men to be in a physical shape? And yeah, I guess what's your take on that as a general whole?
Oh man, another good one. Because I feel like this is transitioning. How old are you, bro? Don't mind me asking.
Obviously 22.
22.
No, I'm 35 though, bro. I'm 35.
35. What? Well, still. So look, I'm 26. When we were younger, there was a different energy, I think, around being fit. And men, I think, specifically being, you're starting to see now with social media, like there's starting to be a negative hit towards it. Maybe it's always been like that. When I was younger, you look at superheroes, you look at bodybuilders, you look at these like, I guess you could consider like alpha males, right? And these were a lot of the heroes that we had in our life. For me, it was Rocky. You know, like I remember.
All right.
I always tell this story because I think it's so funny looking back. Because when I see younger kids, I'm like, I was doing that at that age. Like, for instance, my client brought in his 5-year-old son. When I was 5 years old, I would watch Rocky and do push-ups and sit-ups in front of the TV. That's a trip. But like, I was so moved by that kind of underdog story, right? And so,
right.
In terms of the pressure for men to be fit, I feel like it's definitely there. I think there's a lot of pressure in general. You were talking about it recently in one of your clips that I commented on. There's a high standard, I think, that comes with being a man. And I've gone through like the pace, and like I've tried to figure that out for myself. Like, what does that look like? But I think being fit's one of them. I think this is what I think. I think that your message becomes stronger the more you're able to embody the principles that you're either sharing or that you wish to possess. So if you're going to tell somebody, for instance, like this, right? Let's say that you're a dad. I don't know if you are, if you aren't. And you are 100 pounds overweight. And you're trying to tell your kid how to eat healthy and live a fit lifestyle, or to excel in sport. Your message, I feel like, will go on dull ears potentially because you're not embodying that principle of excelling on a physical realm. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I feel like for men specifically, like you were saying, we're very visually driven. So if a man is like displaying a message, it means more to us to see him embodying it rather than just using words and making us feel a certain way. It's like, you're right. Like, how are you going to be, hate to shit on 24-hour like fitness trainers, but it's always funny because you go to 24-hour fitness and you see these guys that are like 200 pounds overweight, in my opinion, trying to do this workout. It works. You're like, but you don't look like anything that I want to embody. Or it's like walking to GNC and you got this like little guy like, hey, if you take these ones, it'll boost your testosterone. Right. And they're like this big, their arms are this big. And I always find it funny when I go into a GNC, just like getting a pre-workout or a basic ass protein, and you got these guys just trying to tell you what you're doing is wrong. And you're like, do you even lift, bro? You know what I mean? Because just like you're saying, we are very much driven and we listen to a message when it comes from a figure that we want to either embody or that actually lives through that message that we want to live through. Yeah. And I think it's interesting because I think you're absolutely right. I think there's a bigger pressure on men to embody a body or embody a figure or embody more anything else that is a presence, and because I feel like today's day and age is actually lacking a lot of the qualities that make men into leaders, that make men into alphas per se. And I feel like that's more prevalent now than ever to talk about what this alpha or what this beta monikers are, just because there is such a betatization, in my opinion, of men today that it's you can't describe it other than betas and alphas. And I feel like, for me, the way I look at it, my dad's generation of masculinity, men and everything, in the way we describe masculinity now, that was the norm of their generation. Yes. And now we're just one generation removed. Mm-hmm. And we're at this point where we're distinguishing alphas and betas. And it's funny because if you were to go on YouTube or Instagram or anything, where we talk about these alphas and betas, the only people that complain about if alphas or betas exist would be your stereotypical beta, because when you know who you are as a man, when you know the presence and the leadership qualities that you bring to the table, mm-hmm. you don't need to distinguish yourself in any kind of a label. You don't need to say that you're an alpha, I'm this, and this. Like, fuck, I know who I am. Why am I trying to tell everybody who I am? And now we're at this phase, in my opinion, where the identity issues with men are so far off that we're trying to label something so that we can actually have an identity, So I love that you bring that up. I guess what's your take on that? Because I feel like there's a lot of thoughts brewing in your head right now. I want to know.
No, there's a lot there. I like what you said about the fact that when you are a man and you know who you are, you don't need to project who you are. I think that was a very strong hit, bro. That was a bar right there. It's easier said than done, right? Like, I think that, and that's another thing is like, what are the indicators? Well, now you got people commenting on everything. There's people are commenting on everything and everyone. So if these, to use the same verbiage you use, if alpha is still like the people who tend to elevate and dominate and to like elevate themselves through life, and so they become successful, so the people that we look at, right, and either criticize or don't, or either like get inspiration from, or we knock them. It's that thing that, I think it goes back to, they're just embodying some principle that made them successful. They're not trying to be an alpha. They're not trying to be a beta. Like, they are navigating their own path. These people have embodied these principles so well that they become successful, that they're people we now look at. We have to have the self-awareness to be like, hey, maybe I can learn something from that person, for better or for worse. I'm watching a video of them.
Right.
So, if you want to go deeper into it or like ask anything more specific, we can go into it. But yeah, I think the general idea, what you said, people are embodying these principles. It stands out to us because those principles made them successful and who they were.
Right. And let's keep on going into this, because we are going to talk about working out. We are talking about investing in yourself as men and things like that, because I know that's what you and I definitely wanted to highlight more than anything else. And it's not that like working out or bodybuilding is such an essential part about being a leader or being a man, but having a physique and being able to have discipline when it comes to your eating habits or your working out habits is a display of leadership, because it shows how much you take yourself as a priority. And men like to be led by example more than anything else. And especially in a day and age where obesity and being overweight makes up 70% of the population, more now than ever, in my opinion, to be of a lead, you kind of have to have this physique that does represent discipline. You have to have an aura around you that is excluding external validation in its entirety because of a know you are. And it's just, I don't know, it's interesting. There's that quote: men are created, women are preserved. And it's, I feel like as men, we kind of know internally, all of us kind of know what we kind of have to do in order for a leader to be a leader. But it's interesting, in my opinion, that today's society, instead of kind of embracing what we kind of all internally know that makes us lead as men, that makes us gravitate and empower other people into our vision, how the society kind of goes away from that. Like, instead of being like, hey, this is what you need to do, like, oh, this discourages you, it's okay, here's a participation trophy, just because you don't feel like actually being anything. I mean, I guess from your view, do you see kind of society going into that, kind of going away from like traditional masculinity, kind of going away from holding men accountable for what they should, I don't want to say they should be doing, but yeah, just fuck it. Let's just say what they should be doing. That's what I'll say.
Jordan Peterson talks about responsibility a lot. I learned a lot from him in my early, like, post graduation. I don't listen to him as much anymore. He was somebody who said, like, and this wasn't isolated to, I think, men, but I think men really took to this message of, you need to figure out what you'd like to be responsible for. You need to pick up a load, or like a biblical term, pick up your cross. You need to determine what you're going to deem as your load, the thing you're going to take responsible for. You need to carry it, and you need to walk uphill with that thing.
Hell yeah.
And that resonated with me. Like, that impacted me deeply at that time, because I'm trying to figure out consistently, like, how to become a stronger version of myself, a stronger masculine force as well in my family, in my life. Like, I'm not to dominate. It's not to dominate. I think there's a misconception there. It's not to dominate others. It's to encourage others. It's to uplift them. It's to be somebody who can stand up straight with your shoulders back and, like, handle issues in life. Bad things are going to happen. Bad things have happened. How do we navigate those? And I think that, like, always, you take for example, like, or somebody breaks in right now, right? I got my dog. She's sweet, but she's gonna run up to the guy. And I got my wife. Like, she's gonna come to me. If somebody breaks in right now, she's not gonna be like, "What's up, up?" You know what I mean? Like, handle that. Right. It's gonna be me. So, right. I don't know. I feel that pressure. Like, I think responsibility isn't masculine or feminine. It should be. But yeah, in terms of, like, the dissolving of what roles and what responsibilities, I think as societally men have versus women, I think those are starting to become morphed together. Like, to your point, a little bit more, where we're not really, we're not stepping out to say, hey, this is what men do and this is what women do. It's more like coming together. So yeah, I do see, I think that the idea that you're communicating played out for sure. You feel that, but yeah, what do we do about it, right?
Yeah, well, I feel like as a man today's day and age, we're just like what we're talking about. There's like the societal social media perception of where we should be going with regards to our behavior and where we should be coinciding with one another, per se. But then there's this reality where you and I already know, like you're saying, if someone breaks into your fucking house and starts threatening your dog and your wife and everything, it's not like you're going to fucking tweet out, fuck you, hashtag I'm offended, hashtag whatever. No, that's where the rubber meets the road. Yeah. And you got to be able to fucking put your gas on the pedal and do something about it. But we're in this day and age where instead of actually being present with that adversity that's happening, we have found a way to make it about how we feel about that adversity and just leverage that.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
it is
That can be harmful.
It's scary. Because yeah. So you just said it. We're talking about the ups and downs, and it's not exactly about the adversity itself. It's about how you respond to it. You know, one of my favorite quotes is, "Character is not determined by what we do, but rather how well we rise after we fall." And
Come on.
I believe, especially as men, we are presented with adversity every single day of our lives. And it's incumbent upon us to learn and grow through it instead of avoiding it. But now we're in a culture that is avoiding like real adversity. And we're missing out on so many opportunities to grow as a person. You know, for me, like, for example, with regards to bodybuilding and with regards to having a physique, I was at 200 some odd pounds at one point after the birth of my second daughter. And because of that feeling, that just insecurity, that feeling of being insignificant, not being enough, and criticizing myself heavily, that feeling carries on into how I train now. Like, obviously nowadays it's like I'll have my eating things. I'll maybe have like a skip out workout over there, but I am never going to get 200 pounds again, you know, but, and for me, I would say that me experiencing being fat at one point and understanding what that contrast is like is what keeps me privy into this moment right now.
Yes.
Like, so yeah. So for you, yeah, no, let's talk about this, right? Because you did bring about this. So for you, what's your kind of view on that in its entirety?
You just said it. I think that we try some of the most powerful motivators aren't what we want to become, but what we don't want to become.
There's a phone right there.
It's not that would again. I'll do one more time. Like with the Jordan Peterson, when I was 20 to 22 in that range, I did this thing called the self-authoring program. Okay. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's essentially you author out the next 5-10 years of your life. And what you do in contrast to the two is you write who you want to be, who you want to become, how this person operates, how they communicate, what they look like, the energy that they possess, what is do they have a family, do they not? What are they pursuing? What type of emotional responses are they having to stressful situations? Detail. I mean, arduous, man. You're just going through boom, boom, boom. Okay. And now, what is the opposite version of that? So the weaknesses I have, the fears I have, the insecurities I have, if those were to persist, what does that version of that person look like in 5 years? And what you find is you can see that person because it's you. You know your the areas you withdraw. You know your fears. You know your insecurities. If you're to lower your frequency, as I think a good way to put it, and become that version of yourself that does exist every single day, you're choosing whether or not you want to lean into it or not, that does exist, what type of results, what type of life, what type of authenticity does that person have? And what I found is when I saw those two versions of myself written out, because I didn't know who I would become, right? I'm just me now, and I have an idea of who I want to become. But now I have a really clear contrast on how to navigate life where it's like, okay, I know the responses that the weaker version of myself would have. I know the responses that the stronger version of myself would have. Doesn't matter how I feel right now because I'm in the process of becoming. So I need to like try as consistently as possible to veer towards the person I want to become. And luckily, I think I do that more often than not. And so I'm afraid. I'm almost afraid of becoming that weaker, lower version of myself, and that drives a lot of what I do.
That's amazing. God, I love that. You know what's crazy about that is, so we as human beings are driven to find problems and problem solve constantly. It's actually built in our survival mechanism of just being human beings.
Yeah.
And so it's funny that we're constantly always talking about today's day and age. We're like, be aspirational, be positive, be whatever. But kind of what you just said, and kind of highlighting into where I was talking about my insecurity, sometimes the fear of not becoming outweighs and pushes us more than the aspiration of becoming, you know? And I feel like that is fucking just crazy because, for me, we're talking about the physique and might as well just stick on to that. It's, oh man, how do I say it? Yeah, it's not exactly the pressure of winning my next competition. Like that one doesn't push me as much, because just like, I mean, it's so variable based on who the judges are.
Sure.
But the fear of becoming fat again, or the fear of not being able to speak from a place of a position of power, so to speak, a position of leverage where I can actually speak about health, like that, the fear of not being able to do that outweighs more than the ambition of potentially getting better. Now, I do want to highlight this because you spoke about, and I'm definitely going to get personal on here when you're talking about, you said a 5-year version of yourself. So for you, what was that 5-year version, and how have you been able to work it back into now so that that's where you're actually headed into?
Yeah, it's a good question, bro. That is asking. Well, I have fear. I have insecurity. I have. I'm a shy kid, right? So I have all of these excuses potentially that could make me not show up to life. They could make me withdraw from relationship. They can make me stay quiet and not speak up. They can make me not take risks when maybe risk would be more fun and worthwhile. And so it became that, man. Like it was, bro. I wrote. I'll share what I wrote down, and then I'll share what I wrote down about who I didn't want to become too. I wrote down having a personal training studio. I wrote down, and specifically, I was just going back on this the other day, to have a plate to embody first with myself, but then to have an environment where people came to get better every single day. I wrote this down, man. I was shocked. I was like 21 years old, writing this down. To have an environment where people came and maybe they weren't comfortable initially. They can come and be accepted, right? They can be comfortable, but not stay that way. They accept the growth journey, and through love and through relationship, we push each other forward. And it's cool because now, like Lmtlss, my studio, it's like that. Lmtlss online, the community as a whole, that's what we do. Is it positive? Yes, but is it like tough love? And hey, yo, you said you wanted to do this, and you're out of alignment, for sure. And so I needed that within myself. I needed that from the people who are close to me in my life, and I want to be that force for others. And so that was my biggest life journey and purpose and pursuit at that point. I think it's even expanded to greater lengths now, 5 years down the road. But then I go back to the person who I didn't want to become. This person was like, wouldn't communicate his authentic ideas, right? He wouldn't take risks in business or otherwise. He'd be working a job that he didn't like because he was too afraid to navigate the path that he truly wanted. He didn't show up to things like this, the podcast, because he was like, oh man, maybe it won't go good. It's like, it's all of those, everything. And it's like, that person isn't dead. That person still lives in me. It's just, you create your life through habitual action. So if I continually decide to like live like that lower frequency version, I will continue to shrink my world. If I continue to have courage, faith, and passion and like navigate life openly, fully, if I fail, fuck it. You should have, like, bro, I felt that. Like, if I fail, fuck it. I'm gonna show up anyway. I'm gonna take the risk anyway, because it's gonna force me to have more faith. It's gonna force me to be more inspiring to those close to me. It might not be the world, but it might be my wife. It might not be the world, but it might be my dad, my mom. Like, you know what I mean? To continue to just show up and give everything you have to each day. I want that more than I want that. So it was that, man. I was just like this smaller version, this weaker version. And at times it comes out, but like, I know I don't want that.
I love that. I really want to highlight one thing that you're talking about, which I'm fucking love this about you, Jacob. This is awesome. Where you're talking about, you can make every excuse in the world and you'd be justified by not doing anything about it because of the excuses that we can create in our own heads. But instead, we take that path. And for you specifically, you're talking about, well, I can, but fuck it. I'm going to go after it because this is what the fuck I want to do. This is what I need to do. This is my purpose. This is my calling. This is whatever. And it's very just inspirational to understand that. One of my buddies had this amazing quote, and it was ironic because it happened um, a year ago. It was like it's my last relationship. I broke up. She broke up with me, feeling insecure. I was being insecure at that moment and everything. But he said a quote, which is, "Remember how it feels, and never let it fucking happen again." And it's interesting on that feeling where it pops up in other areas. So for me, I realized that happened in my relationships with whatever. I feel like a lot of men go through the insecurity thing with being in relationships with a significant other. I know for me that there's still a lot of work to be done in that aspect. I mean, I feel like we always do. But then that feeling of being insignificant, that feeling of being insecure, that feeling of being able to make excuses and stay with where I'm at is prevalent in other areas in my life. And it's interesting on ever since I kind of like financially, personally, professionally, that feeling of I can make an excuse and stay where the fuck I'm at, but that's not what I want to do. Internally, that's not where I want to be. And that pressure of that intrinsic pressure that's saying that I know I can be better is now I applied it externally, and now I feel like life's been moving on. Now for you, what I love about you and your company and your brand is you are pushing people to that. You're showing people exactly what you're just talking about. Like, hey, you might have hit this wall, but fuck it. You're going to get through it, because if you really want something, you're going to have to get through it. There's no other way around it.
Yeah.
So for you, has that been like the premise of your company? Like, what is that feeling for you to go in every single day and change people's lives?
Yeah, that's the hope, man. I don't think I really do the change. I think that this is what I do. This is my approach. So with training, a lot of times you go into say you go into a 24-hour fitness, you go into a studio, you go see a particular trainer, and that's like, yo, that's Sally's way of getting down. Like, that's how she trains people. So I flip that model on its head. So we sit down, Alan, you come see me. I say, what do you want, man? What are you looking to do? I do the same thing. So that reverse engineer programming of like reverse engineering the life. I do the exact same thing. I just straight stole that. It worked for me, so I use it for other people, and it works incredible for other people. Hey, Alan, what does success look like for you in 90 days, bro? What does it look like for you in 5 years? So what we do is, let's see how ambitious you are. Let's see how ambitious the goals you have for your life are and for your health. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Your ambition is going to inform me whether maybe we need to tame it a little bit, because it could be crazy. You're like, oh, bro, I want to lose 50 pounds. Like, you don't have 50 pounds to lose, right? So it just depends. Right. But what we do is we create a program that is systematic and slow, allows you to build momentum and progress to slowly but surely align you with the actions and the person that you want to become. Right? So we try to we simplify it. We try to put high priority on the high priority tasks that live within fitness. And right, I won't go too deep into that. Like, there's a system there, but it's just that reverse engineering process. And so it's not me defining success. It's me it's me building a relationship with you so that I understand what success looks like for you, and then making sure you don't step out of alignment with that. And if you do, we just program to get you right back on track. So there's that. It's your life. It's your goal. My goal is to make you have all of the information, all of the knowledge, all of the systems that you need to get there. And if you step out of alignment, like, I'm not going to be mad with you, but I'm going to be honest with you. Hey, Alan, you said you want this. You still want that? All right, cool. It might take a little bit more work. Like, we got to focus in. You still want it? Yeah. Okay, cool. And so that way also, I don't work with just anybody. Paying me isn't the prerequisite to work with me. It's a partnership. Right. So if you're continually, like, maybe not respecting our time together, or not respecting the program because you're saying you want something but you're not adhering to that, we're probably not meant for each other. Maybe another trainer will be a little more like gracious. But for me, am I going to have grace? 100%, because I mess up and I fall short every single day. But we're going to move the needle on the discipline. We're going to move the needle on the adherence to the program. So that's yeah.
No, I love that. You bring up a very, very powerful point about reverse engineering. Now for you, Jacob, how would you, for the listeners and for everybody else that doesn't exactly understand what reverse engineering is, how would you describe it? What reverse engineering is with regards to, I guess what comes to mind for you with regards to reverse engineering?
Yeah, so let's take somebody is out of shape. They want to be in shape. Okay. The cool thing about life is you can actually get out of it what you want. Right. That's the cool part about living right now. In this moment that you live in, you can get the thing out of life that you want. It's just the ability to reverse engineer it. Okay. So you want to lose 50 pounds. What will that take? What is your time frame? Okay. I want to do it in a year. What is that pace? Break it down into a week. I can't do that off the top of my head right now, but like, let's say you got to lose a pound to 2 a week. All right. You need to lose a pound to 2 a week for an entire year. That's going to get you to your goal. How do I lose a pound to 2 a week? I don't know. I need to get on YouTube. Man, I went on YouTube and I learned the thing, but I'm not adhering to it. I might need an accountability buddy. You bring a buddy to the gym. I might need a professional. So you figure out what you want, and then you get to work on that, and you give yourself grace when you fail, but you get all of the resources that you need to ultimately align with where you want to be. Same thing with business or finances, right? I recently hired a company to help me on building my online business. They know more than me. So like part of growth is you have to lower your ego to ask for help because you don't know everything. I don't know everything, but somebody out there can help you get to that next level. Will you get to the next level on your own? Maybe it might just take you a little bit longer. You can expedite your process by getting help. You work with people in coaching. You're a trainer as well.
I do. I don't do it as much because I got impatient with people. Kind of what we were talking about with earlier. I'm tired of adhering to other people's schedules and kind of like dealing with the nuances of working with clients. Like, I understand that is the approach, but I just got frustrated with it. I'm already a dad dealing with my daughters. They're going through their teenage years. I'm not trying to deal with adults that have less responsibility than these guys. I don't get how that works, but
that's real. Yeah, that's real. So that goes to the point of like training.
Yeah.
Excuse me, big burp there. It takes. Yeah. You have to be quite patient with people and figure it out. But anyways, when you were right, people will hire a trainer either one or two things, like a few things, but it's generally to expedite their process. Because you might be able to get there on your own. You get there quicker when you ask for help. That's the point of a professional in anything.
Right. Right, but the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, right? And so, if you don't hire a coach, if you just try to have all your opinions from Instagram and from YouTube, you could definitely just fucking take whatever routes and sometimes find yourself in a worse place than when you started. That's for sure. The things that I definitely want to highlight with regards to reverse engineering, and you're saying it exactly word for word. Have you ever heard of the term be, do, have?
I have.
Okay, so let's talk about this, right? Because I feel like, for me, when I used to have clients that would talk about, hey, I want to lose 50 pounds. I want to lose 75 pounds, whatever that goal is. I always ask them, is it about the weight that you want to lose, or is it about how you would feel once that weight is lost?
Yeah.
Right. So, and you start getting into that, right? And so what I always do, especially with reverse engineering, is when it comes to like losing 30 pounds, let's say that's the goal, right? And you're 200 pounds. Instead of saying, hey, let's lose 30 pounds, what does a 30-pound less version of you, what are they doing to maintain that into a lifestyle? So what is, let's say you're 200 pounds, a 30-pound less. What is the 170-pound person doing, 170-pound version of you doing to maintain them being at 170 pounds? So then all of a sudden it's like, wait, what is he doing? Like, oh, how many meals is he eating? How many times is he working out? What do those workouts consist of? What is what are the foods? Like, how are you balancing your carbs? And then when you start making, like we're talking about, you reverse engineer, then you think about what are you doing now with regards to that? And now how do you build your habits into that? Because I think just as much as I do that it's not about like lifting, whatever. It's not about working out here and there. It's about how do you consistently create this into habits? How do you create this into behavior? How do you create this into your identity? And that's how you get exceptional results, because at that point, it's not about the result. It's about that's just who you are naturally as a person.
Yeah. That's good, bro.
That's awesome. Yeah. Like, and it's like, yeah, one of my favorite things to say is, don't go for the accolade, but rather be the person for which those accolades are naturally attributed to, because it'll come, naturally. Like, for example, Jeff Bezos isn't trying to be a billionaire. He's just trying to spread his company because of what it does, is because it provides a faster shipping between the company and the consumer. And so that's all it is. How do you create that more? It just happened to turn into a multi-billion dollar, effectively $1 trillion business into the world. But it's because you're more focused on the goal and the intention, the identity, than it is about the outcome. The outcome just happens to become what that is, Boom. So
that's good.
I don't know. Do you have anything to add to that, or
that's something? Yeah, man. I was just talking to my wife about this. She started to help me out a little bit on the business, and she has a goal of eventually down the road working full time with just me. So we've been dabbling with that because, of course, you want to make sure it's smooth.
100%.
Anyways,
100%.
But I was talking to her. I'm like, for the first time in my life, I'm starting to feel that if life is, my life had always kind of looked like this. Like, as a perfectionist, as a goal-oriented person, I got obsessed. I obsess over goals and like the next thing. But I'll share a little more into it. So like I like last year I hit every goal that I wrote down 5-6 years ago. I saw the notebook. I'm like, oh my gosh, I did it. Some of these I surpassed.
Congratulations, by the way. That's fucking phenomenal. That you wrote a goal out 5 years and you fucking, oh man, it's keep going. Sorry, I'm just very happy for you, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. It's there's these goals. I don't know when I found in my notebook. I'm like, I've done all of this. It's cool. Like in the studio, to like I even did some more things. Like I ran the marathon, did the physique show. I didn't expect that. Like the financial goals I'd set for myself. Like, okay, I'm tracking past that now. So I got to sit down and kind of reestablish. But what I found is this. When I opened my studio, for instance, right, I put in all this work. Like, I'm going to do it. It was in the middle of the pandemic. A lot of people were telling me not to do it. I was like, nah, I know it's time because I hit the upper capacity of what I could do in terms of traveling around to my clients. So like, I need a hub. I need to invest like all my money into this. So I did it, and it ended up being the biggest blessing. But I'll tell you, like, candidly, when it got complete, when I put all the paint up and finished it, and it's always progressing, but that moment, open doors, boom, my client's coming in now. There was like a month or two of a lull, and I couldn't explain it or describe it, and I didn't necessarily correlate it to opening the gym. But what happened is like there was a little death that happened because this whole process, this thing I was building to, and I built up in my head, it wasn't necessarily the thing that fulfilled me. It just continued the machine. It allowed the machine to progress to the next level. But it's like you don't just stop. You continue to show up every single day. So I noticed that trend in my life, and more as I was younger, it'd be like this: would be accomplish a goal, be depressed. Accomplish a goal, be depressed, and not like I say it lightly. Okay, I say it lightly.
No, but we should normalize that. Just because you're depressed, it doesn't mean you're like motionless or that you can't do anything. Like
it wasn't that. It was that like I would notice I was attaching my vigor to showing up in life to the next thing that I was doing. And so like I'm attaching in a way my identity to my accomplishments. And then every once in a while when I didn't have my next accomplishment lined up or ready to go, I felt really bad about myself. I felt like I was a failure. And so, man, fast forward, like I'm getting to this point, and I hope I can continue on this stride where the work is the reward. You serve well because you get the opportunity to serve, and you continue to do that. You continue to do that. Continue to show up. Continue to give. Continue to just love what you're doing, as opposed to like, oh, the show's over. Now what? Let's go eat and gain 30 pounds. Like, no, you do the work because you love the work. You get an opportunity to do this work. You get an opportunity to serve. You get an opportunity to build these relationships with these incredible clients who are changing their life. Like, I get to be a part of all that. Oh, dope. I'm going to keep showing up. And each goal that comes along the way is just going to be the natural progression and investment into myself or my business. It's going to allow me to do that on a greater scale because that's what I'm here to do.
Yeah, you know absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I like what you're saying. Just constantly show up, constantly be there. Andrew Huberman has a really good quote where he says like, make effort fun, like make effort worth it. You know what I mean? And that's the whole thing. Like you're just saying, you have to find something intrinsic about yourself that has you show up constantly, regardless of how you feel.
Yeah.
And, and that's one of the biggest drivers and biggest everything. So for you working with people, what do you feel is like what is your big vision with Lmtlss and your brand? Like, where do you see that going 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? When that question for you comes up, what do you see overall?
Yeah, man, I see. It's a good question, dude. It's a good question. I'm having to kind of like figure out something on the spot because I haven't detailed that out entirely. I've been living very present with it, but we're in the process of immense growth, especially in the online space. Like
right.
Things where I don't know if you ever had a moment where you're like, oh my gosh, like this is the potential here is incredible. And so I've kind of had that where I'm like, okay. So I see now what's amazing for me. And I knew when I became a trainer when I was 19, I knew that online would be the route. I just always loved the touchy-feely in-person, build a relationship, see them working.
Oh, yeah.
Because fitness isn't, as you progress in fitness, it's the nuances. It's not, everyone knows how to do a bench press for the most part. It's like, how are you, so being able to be there for my clients, see it in person, allow them to progress through those paces. I love that. I'll never stop doing in-person training at some capacity. But in the online space, I can make a video just like you'd post on like as a reel, and that could reach an undetermined amount of people that can encourage them and uplift them. In the same way with training on the online space, I can train somebody in Thailand. I can train somebody who's on the East Coast when I'm on the West Coast. I don't have to be there in the flesh, but I can still be there in terms of the same systems that would work for all my clients, my in-person and my online clients. You continue to give that to people. It's a system I believe in that works, and it obviously works because like everyone tends to get results from it if they adhere to it. And so, man, I just think that more of that. I would love to get to the point where like I'm doing, I don't know, like everyone who's a part of the, just training with me and training with Lmtlss together and do like, retreats or something. I don't know, but just continuing to serve at higher levels, man. That's the ultimate hope and goal, is that I have enough time to see it grow to its fullest capacity,
Outstanding. Yeah. And for all the listeners and everything, what's your website, Instagram, all your handles? Like what are they? Just might as well get them all out there.
That's good. Lmtlss. So like my shirt. Am I flip-flopped on your screen, by the way?
No. Am I flip-flopped on yours?
Okay. I'm backwards on mine. But Lmtlss Jacob on Instagram, on YouTube, on whatever else. Twitter, which I don't use.
on TikTok,
Snapchat. Yeah. And then my website is lmtlssfit.com, where there's like more information about the background of the business.
Is Lmtlss spelled Lmtlss?
Always, yeah. So Lmtlss without the vowels. Yeah.
Without the vowels. Limitless, especially without the vowels. It's definitely limitless right there. Limitless on the spelling, I guess, too. That's pretty cool. All right, man, I need you to actually stay on real quickly while this all uploads. But anything else do you want to emphasize right before we wrap this all up?
No, man, I'm glad we got to chat. I'm glad we got to catch up.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. Well, all right, guys. Hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. And until next time, deuce. All right.